Hey YouTubers, Chris here, Salty Life. Saturday, March 29th, 3:30 in the morning. Just left my house, went to Quick Check, got a Red Bull, an apple pie. I got about 3.5 hours to go to the South Jersey shore. We're gonna catch some stripers today, or at least we're gonna try. They just started running, a couple were caught in Fortescue. That's where I'm heading. So, see you in a few. On the Jersey Turnpike here, next to Newark Airport. This ain't good. New Jersey State Trooper stopping traffic. Hopefully we're not stuck too long. Well, it was only a few minutes. Alright YouTubers, 3 hours later, we've arrived at Wally World, close to our destination. Need to find a surf rod. Totally not what I'm looking for, but that's pretty cool. A Jimmy Buffett Margaritaville beach cruising bicycle. I think I want one. Here's a great place to get the fishing forecast.
Not much we can do to make them better looking.
Alright gang, here at Higbee's Bait and Tackle, Fortescue, New Jersey. I'm going to try some striper fishing today. This is the place to get quality bloodworms. Check these guys out on Facebook. Just search Higbee's Bait and Tackle, Fortescue, New Jersey. Alright, here we go. Picked up some bloodworms. These are pretty cool. If you've never used these, you have to be careful, as they will bite you. They have 4 copper-filled fangs that come out in something called a proboscis. It extends kind of like an alien head. Weirdest thing I've ever seen the first time I used them. And if they bite you, it does hurt. It's kind of like a bee sting. So handle them with care. I'm going to play with it, try to get the fangs to come out just so you can see it. It's super interesting, but one of the best baits around to use. So here's a pic of the proboscis with the 4 copper-like fangs. I played with this guy for some time and I could not get it to come out on video. They come out when you don't expect them to, and they nail you on the finger when you're trying to put them on the hook. The other negative about bloodworms is they're super expensive right now. Currently, they are about $33 a dozen. So that's nearly $3 a worm. So striper fishing can get a little expensive. Alright, we're set up. Got the spread. This is Fortescue Beach. Very windy right now. It's supposed to get up to 70 later, so we'll see what happens. I'm going to turn the sound off because it was just too windy and the background noise is too much. So, weather forecast for today was supposed to be 70 to 80, leaning towards the 80 side, and sunny. However, weatherman is the only job you can have and be wrong 100% of the time and still have your job. It was 60 with a solid 20-mile-an-hour wind straight in our faces from the west. So, as you can see, there's about 30 people set up on the beach from one end to the other. Let's see if it's any better if I turn the sound down, because it is nice to hear the waves crashing on the beach. By the way, this is the Delaware Bay. This is not the ocean, even though the waves coming in kind of look like the ocean. It's normally not so wavy, I guess you could say. The waves come in, but the wind out of the west is really producing some more waves than normal. So you can see the weed line there. We were fishing the incoming tide, and the tide right now is close to high tide. It will come in close to that weed line, and then hopefully the fish will start biting as the tide starts to go out. One of the things that is very important when targeting striped bass with bait is you have to use an inline circle hook so that you can hook the fish in the corner of the mouth. Best case scenario, you don't want to hook a striped bass. You can only keep striped bass that are between 28 and 31 inches. So if they're shorter than that, you have to throw them back, and if they're larger than that, you have to throw them back. So you don't want to gut hook a fish that will die after throwing it back. This is a very sandy beach all the way out, so you want to use what's called Sputnik weights. And I'm going to show you a little clip that I made regarding Sputnik weights. They're very good in sandy conditions, so keep an eye out and you'll see what you need to know about Sputnik weights. Alright gang, this here is called a Sputnik weight, which is good for sandy situations. And here's how it works. So this is how it comes, and you have to set it up. To do that, you need to turn it upside down and then force these the other way. There's grooves and there's little indentations to keep it locked in place. And then you cast it out, and then when you tighten up your line, these metal tines dig into the sand and it locks it in place, and it doesn't move when the waves come by and that kind of thing. So this is a very useful device, but I didn't know the first time I used it that you need to lock these in place the way it is now. And then when you actually pull on your line, it will do that and release and come back to where you need it. Very useful weight when you're dealing with a sandy situation. Oh, by the way, excuse my finger. I whacked my thumb against a piece of metal and I took a lot of skin off, but it's healing now. That's about to lose that scab. First fish of the day.
I'll tell the game where this is a racing bird. Just got stripes on it.
It's sandwich size. Just kidding, YouTube people. We're going to throw it back.
Here, I'll get close to show you right.
Looks bigger now. All right, let's release him. Bye, fishy. Does he have one? Might have one. I'm going to cut the sound off because it got a little windier in this clip and it was very difficult to hear. What I wanted to point out is from that weed line to where the water is now, remember the water is receding. It's an outgoing tide. But it's probably about 10 to 12 feet from that weed line to where the water is. I mean 10 to 12 feet in elevation change. So the water rushes out. You're losing at least 10 or 12 feet of water between a high tide and a low tide. And as you can see, as this angler walks out, there's only about 2 feet of water. Maybe 3 feet as he gets out a little further. But he had a fish, but it looks like he either lost it or the fish threw the hook. Either way, he did not end up with a fish. But if you look to the left here, you'll see that sandbar, which you could not see at high tide at all, is walkable. You can walk all the way out on that sandbar as the tide goes out. So, pretty cool. I wish there was a little bit more water at low tide. They did do a sand dredging operation between last year and this year, which has totally changed the contour and the sand, where the sand is on the beach. So this is kind of like learning a new fishing spot all over again. So this family down to the right side of us was fishing with their kids. And I'm going to switch to my other camera that I had on a tripod, so you're going to see some color changes and stuff, because that camera is not quite as good quality as the other camera that I was using. And it's also pretty far away, so I apologize for the poor quality of this. But as you watch, you'll see that the father hooked the fish and had the kids help reel it in. And then you'll see that the mother comes down and takes a picture of the short fish before they throw it back. This is what it's all about, isn't it? I know when I was growing up, 5, 6 years old, I had a cousin who lived about 3 hours north of where I grew up, which is pretty close to this place actually. He would come down from New York and take me fishing. I would look forward to that for hours or days even when I found out he was coming down. So take a kid fishing. It'll make their day, their year, and they will have memories of that for a lifetime. I still think back on times when my cousin Frank came down and took me fishing. Sometimes he would come down, make the drive, and it would rain all day. But I would still want to go fishing because I look forward to it so much. So, again, this is what it's all about. Teach a kid to fish. It'll make memories for a lifetime and, you know, gives them a useful skill. So, there he goes, throwing the small striper back. Pretty cool stuff. All right, here we are a little later in the day. Didn't have a whole lot of activity today. My brother caught a small fish. I did have one really good bite. I was using some finger mullet, salted finger mullet that I picked up at Walmart when I bought that new surf rod. And I figured I'd give it a shot since bloodworms are $33 a dozen. You know, you can go through bloodworms pretty quick if fish are biting. You know, sometimes in this area you get horseshoe crabs, they'll eat your bait, or perch. Today we didn't really go through them too much, but I did try the finger mullet, and I had a huge bite on a very light 7-foot rod that I had on the left side there. It was such a big bite that we were concerned that the white PVC tube that I had it in was either going to come out of the ground or the rod was going to come flying out. But when I got to it, unfortunately, there was no fish on it, which happens. Usually those circle hooks work pretty good. They're designed to basically hook the fish on its own when he runs away and stay hooked. But in this case, it didn't work. We did see several fish caught up and down the beach. Only one keeper, it looked like, earlier in the morning on our left side. But there were several short fish caught and released safely. This is just the beginning. It's still a little early. In another 2 weeks, it should pick up hot and heavy. There are striper migration reports that you can look at online, which will show you where certain fish are, where the schoolies are, where the 30-inch fish are, and then where the 40-plus fish are. And right now they're just starting to get into the Delaware Bay and the Raritan Bay up near North Jersey. Right now they're hot and heavy in the Chesapeake Bay. Now I do understand that the Chesapeake Bay is around 50 degrees, and I think the water we're fishing on is much cooler right now. So in another couple weeks, when the weather warms up, as the water temperature gets in the 50s, I think the bite will turn on and we'll have much more success. If you all like the videos that I produce, please like and subscribe, and you'll get notifications when I post a new video. It does help me out a lot. I am going to head towards the ocean side of New Jersey on the way home because it's easier for me just to take the parkway straight north. So you'll see that in a minute. There are plenty of people that walk up and down the beach looking for shells, sea glass, and a lot of times people have metal detectors looking for treasures, lost treasures, but not as much as you see on the ocean side. As again, this is the bay side, but some families bring their kids down here and that kind of thing. I will stress that this beach is very comfortable April and May. Towards the end of May, the insects come out of the marsh. They call them greenheads in this area, and they bite, and it gets pretty thick sometimes. So you probably don't want to visit this beach when it's nice and warm out. Take a look at that guy on the left side there. You'll see how shallow the water gets at low tide, because we're real close to low tide at this point. So I'm gonna pack my stuff up and head out and go to the ocean side, see if I can catch something there. So on the way to the ocean side, 5 wild turkeys passed in front of me, and they were pretty big. Plenty of wildlife in this area of South Jersey. All right, Chris here at the Longport Pier once again. At about 2 hours before sunset. I was here last week, There was hardly anybody here. Got all kinds of people catching green crabs at the beginning of the pier. Getting ready for tog season in a couple days. I am trying to catch some stripers. I tried this morning in Fortescue. Did not have good luck. My brother caught a small striper. I had a very good hit, but the circle hook did not do its job. So we'll see what happens here. Hopefully, in the next 2 hours, we can get a striper. See what happens. Tide's running pretty good right now. It's coming in. Beautiful sunset. It was interesting to note that this is between 5 and 6 p.m. at night, and the temperature here on the east side of New Jersey, or the ocean side of New Jersey, is 80 plus degrees. So earlier today I was on the bay side and it was very cold and windy. It was supposed to be 70 to 80 and it never reached that. The wind was blowing out of the west, taking the water temperature from the bay, and it barely hit 60. But as I drove across the state of New Jersey, the temperature just skyrocketed towards the end of the day. Alright, gang, I'm going to end this video with a little time lapse of the sun over the Great Egg Harbor Inlet here. Like I said, if you like what you see, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Have a great week.